Today on Relationship Wars, love is a battlefield. Today our guests are John Upshaw, who is an author, Dr. V. She is a relationship expert and she is also Miss Inspirational United States 2014. Mr. Ross Fleming, he is an actor, producer, and life coach. And we also have Miss Wonder Power. She's an author, actor, and host of Restore Our Community. Let's give it up for Miss Wonder Power.
Welcome to Relationship Wars. Love is a battlefield. And I have my panel with me. We're going to talk about relationship wars. What do you know about relationship wars, Mr. Upshaw?
I know a lot about relationship wars. In fact, I've been in a couple. I had to lace up. I had to lace up those boots a few times and get in there and fight in the name of love. So I'm definitely appreciative for this opportunity to come on here and express, you know. Actually, I have a question. Is it really a war?
It's a war.
That's a good question.
Is it really a war?
It's really a war.
And I hope that we really get a chance to touch on that, you know, during the show.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your book. You have a book. What is the name of that book and what is the purpose of the book?
The book is called For Her Eyes Only, Rules That Place Common Sense Back into Dating. It actually came about, my daughter, she was born in 2012. And actually, you know, prior to that, when the doctor looked at the sonogram and said it was a girl, I said, Jesus Christ. So I said,
Why is that?
well, I wanted a boy, because, you know, boys are a little easier, but, you know, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. So, you know, my brain got to going, and I said, you know what, I need to do something that gives her some information out here on what's going on in the game. So it's just basically from my eyes of what happened, what happens in dating, and I try to help the ladies. I'm not male bashing. Anybody who have read the book, I'm not male bashing at all. I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to, you know, telling people what they do wrong. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great. We're going to come back to that because
Yeah.
I know there's some points in that book that we're going to dialogue because we kind of left it halfway off screen, but we'll bring it back up so our audience can maybe give us some feedback on that. And we have with us the Miss Diva, Miss Dr. V. Dr. V, tell our audience, let's talk about you and some of the things that you've done and why are you an expert?
Oh.
Why
I'm an expert? Well,
yes.
I guess when you've been married 5 times, you learn something.
Whoa,
and if
okay.
you don't, something's very wrong.
Okay.
But beyond that, I've studied communication. The interesting thing when you talk about relationship wars, love is a battlefield, is that a lot of times we create the battle, we create the war. We make it a battlefield. It wasn't designed to be that way, but that's what we make it, thus 5 times. And I always believe in winning the war. So that means some folks had to get cut. But, you know, hey, I mean, it is what it is, though, seriously.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, studying communication, studying relationships, studying families, and then living it out, it becomes very different. Yeah. And then the real war, you want to know what the real war is?
What's the real war?
The real war is that we're pit against one another through our socialization. So the girls are raised and taught that you can't count on a man, they're no good, you know, you don't need to depend on them, they won't be there. And the boys are raised to be little pimps, because when we see them and they just, oh, you're gonna be a pimp, you're gonna break hearts, you're gonna break hearts. And so we create a battle.
Wow, and that is so deep. So I can see some of the heads moving over here.
Yeah.
But before we get into this real battlefield here, let's talk Ross Fleming. Let's talk about what it is that you do and what are you bringing to this war? What are you bringing to this fight?
What am I bringing to the fight? Well, hopefully I'm bringing some solutions to the fight. I think to kind of piggyback off what Dr. V said and then kind of segue into another thought, besides the socialization aspect of why we fight and why our exchanges are the way they are, I think we also internally battle a lot. And so we're also dealing with our own internal battles, our own internal struggles. And I think for the most part, one of the greatest concepts or greatest parts of this war is the misinformation part of it. And it's a great part of battle tactics. You send the enemy the wrong information. And I think a lot of times we've been caught up in kind of like third-party suggestion, what books say, what the magazine says, what so-called quasi-experts and pundits on TV say. And we don't get to the heart and the meat of the matter, which is communicating with one another. And I think that what we're going to be able to do, hopefully, through this show and through this movement of, bringing people together and encouraging relationships is just getting down to the meat of communication and getting people talking, because I think we'll realize that we really want the same things.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And Sean, you just said something, and I really want people to get a copy of your book and understand, because we don't think that men understand, and we've got a chance to dialogue, on different subjects. And being a father, I think it's very important for men to be in their daughters' lives as well as the son, but really for the daughters, because as Dr. V said, we have some of those kids growing up talking about pimp players and all this. Well, you're going to be a player because you're so cute and this, that, and the other. Let's elaborate on that, Dr. V.
Well, I think it's interesting because both Sean and Ross have daughters, and you can tell both of them were pimps and players. Smooth. All this fineness, up here, they had all the women. But the interesting thing about daughters is when men have daughters, they begin to reflect back on all the dirt they did to women. And they start thinking, oh my God,
Lord,
I don't want nobody doing my daughter like that.
But that doesn't necessarily stop them. Come on, did that stop you, having a daughter?
Yeah. Immediately. Immediately.
Okay, you said that now.
No, it's true. Listen. When I had my daughter, my whole world paradigm and perspective on life completely changed. I was a man who enjoyed adult recreation. I went to strip clubs, I went to nightclubs. I enjoyed that whole social vibe and being and mingling and talking to women. And the moment I had a daughter, it all changed. Yeah. My daughter's 6. I haven't been to a gentleman's club, nor do I have a desire to. I mean, I spend so much time thinking about preventative measures and things I have to talk to my daughter about, and how I don't want her to be, a quote unquote thought.
Yes. And that sounds great, but we're talking about relationship wars, and I'm not judging the two of you guys. There are far too many men that you would think, don't you have sisters or daughters or aunts? And regardless of that, there are still dogmatic men out here. So when we talk about that, I mean, ifs and nuts were chocolate butts, what do they call that? Come on, are we really supposed to believe our lying eyes?
Well, and what's so funny and also so sad is, when we're talking about the people that are telling, oh, little man's going to be a heartbreaker, a lot of times that's women.
It is.
And so and our sisters instead of enforcing corrective behavior, our sisters are the one that support us a lot of times in our devilment and in our playerism. We gotta look at, call a spade and kind of look at where it comes from.
I like that, and I have to say, I'll accept that because it is the women that say that, because if guys say that to a little boy, well, you know what, there are men that say that, aren't there?
Yeah, well, kind of, sort of,
It is, but I'm going to tell you, this is my thing, and I think it's very important that we as women assume some responsibility.
Sure.
Because as mothers, we shape our children's lives, right? And so those early messages from mother means a lot. Now, I'm not by any means saying that the problems in relationships are just because of women. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that we do have to assume some responsibility, because way too often we are the ones that are telling the girls, you can't trust boys, and also telling the boys, oh, you're gonna break hearts. So we are adding to and reinforcing this gender socialization that creates a battle that doesn't have to exist, and then we get mad, Wanda, because some man does to us what we're encouraging our sons to do.
Wow, that is so good, my brother.
I mean, they pretty much hit the nail on the head with just about everything that goes on. I was actually presented the opportunity to write an article about why relationships need to be change needs to be aggressively demanded in relationships. And how I formed it is I started with a couple arguing in the kitchen, and how sometimes when you're arguing with your mate, it escalates and it escalates, and then it turns into just total disrespect where you calling her out her name and vice versa. Mm-hmm. But nobody during this exchange, nobody's paying attention to the kids
Absolutely.
that are watching this. Mm-hmm. So here you have a little boy watching his mother get disrespected, and here you have a little girl watching her father disrespect her mother. Mm-hmm. So eventually you grow up thinking, if it's not corrected, you grow up thinking, oh, it's cool. Yeah. Mom and dad did it. They still together. It happens. And they still do it.
It happens.
And let me say this too, as we talk about the foundation and where our troubles began, because when we see this is where the foundation goes, then it goes up as we start growing up, and then we started dating, then we think that there's a difference when men date and when women date. Let's talk a little bit about that as we escalate to, to the adulthood. Why are we accepting men to date all these women? It's okay, but when a woman does it, she's a whore, or she's, all these derogatory names, but it's okay for a guy. And we know that it started with that foundation. Now, come on.
Well, I'll be the first. I'll be the first to admit, we talked about this. I'm walking in a season of just transparency.
Okay, good.
And I will be the first to admit it's definitely a double standard. At the end of the day, and I can't speak for most men, but at the end of the day, it's more of a territorial thing. A man doesn't want, this is gonna sound so crazy coming out.
No, it's not.
A man don't want a woman with a lot of miles on her. Jesus
Wow.
Christ. But
let me unmic. Hold on. Let me unmic. I might as well unmic now. Let me unmic.
Well, no,
let me unmic.
But no, what I'm saying is, like, it's not that we saying, bring all the virgins, here. But at the end of the day, it's like, the world is so small. I don't think people realize how small the world is. And when I was staying in Detroit, the city is big, but it's small. And any young lady I mess with, you always find them messing around with somebody that you know or a friend. Like, do you know how awkward that is to have a friend over there like, oh, you dating such as? I used to date her, and you like.
Well, but you know what, Sean? Let me tell you, and y'all, since we're talking about transparency, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care, right? So I grew up in a small town, and in a small town,
Shout out Russellville.
Shout out to Russellville.
Shout out Russellville,
right? But in a small town, everybody knows everybody. So I remember this guy that I was seeing telling me about. He was hanging out with some of his boys. There was about 4 of them in the car, and somehow my name came up, and one said, "Oh yeah, I hit that," and I said, "Man, you too."
Oh.
Wait a minute.
Wait. They went around the whole car. All of them. I had been with all of them, right? But the good news is I got an A++.
Why was one of them riding a horse?
No.
I met the guy on the horse.
No, that wasn't mine. That wasn't mine.
Just checking.
No, that wasn't mine. But the reason that I say that is it's not just men who do that to women, it's other women who do that. Okay. And in fact, a lot of times we are worse than the men about doing that. And it's not even necessarily in that particular case, I really had slept with all 4 of them. But in a lot of cases, it's not true. But, people will say that you slept with people even if you hadn't slept with them. And so the double standard comes because it is true. Yeah. Men want to think they're the only man for that woman and that they give it to her the best and, they are this and they are that. They want to beat their chest and all that good stuff. And it is territorial. They're very protective. Men, they want to protect their woman. But this is the flip side of that thing. The flip side is that we have a generation of women who have rebelled against that double standard. I was one of them. And the reason all 4 of them can say it is because I consciously rolled like a dude, consciously. I made a decision that anything a guy could do, I could do. And I took that into every area of my life.
Do you regret that?
I don't regret anything I've ever done in my life because everything that I've experienced has made me who I am. But let me tell you what I learned from that. Men and women are built differently. We're wired differently. And though I could do the same thing a man could do, it did not have the same effect on me that it has on men. Now, I could shut down the emotions, you know, for the most part, but at the end of the day, as someone likes to tell me, I'm still a girl. You know, I'm still a woman, you know, and so those emotions are going to be there. So even when we're being hard and we're going to do whoever we want to do and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, at the end of the day, anytime you are physically intimate with someone over a period of time, you will get some feelings.
And let me say this, sister, and we're going to let you guys in because you know we can go. The things I hear you say, and this no pun intended, we said we're being, you know, transparent. And we talked about, you and I had talked about this, so it's not like I'm saying anything that's new or anything. But you and I were talking, I remember back in my 20s, Steve Harvey didn't come up with act like a lady, think like a man. I had that concept, but what I learned over the years is, you know, I'm not giving my stuff up like that because it's too good to be giving it away.
Right.
So what I do, I cannot necessarily act like a man, but I can definitely show you in other ways what you're doing is not, you know, is not right without, you know, giving up the cookies like that.
I
agree. And then looking at the fact of being married, I would have been married at least 2 other times. I've been married before, married 14 years. I could have been married a couple of more times, but as I started dating, I realized, you know what, I would be divorced. So because we talk, I may be a little dyslexic. I look at things from the end sometimes before the beginning. That's just part of my creativity. And sometimes I can kind of look at the relationship, you know, and I thank God for that. So as I look at your example and where I could have been, so I don't judge you because that could have been me, but I do thank God for just really not doing the experience like that.
Right.
That doesn't take anything away from yours.
Oh, no.
because of where you are. But I have to say that Ross is looking like he's just ready to explode over there. What up?
I'm listening. No, I mean, I'm listening. I know that.
What is your feel from a male's perspective of what we just
Well, the double standard exists, and it's not going anywhere.
What's not going anywhere?
The double standard. It exists. And so I personally believe that women aren't built to live and behave like a man. I think it's an impossible thing to do. I think Steve Harvey's absolutely ludicrous and wrong. I don't think you can think like a man. I don't think you can urinate like a man. I don't think that you can create women and have seed like men. Like, you're not a man. So it's impossible for you to behave, and it doesn't behoove you to behave like one. I think that women are pure, and I think that women were built to be like fertile ground for procreation, to hold down the marriage, to be the head of household. And so for me, I just know that, you know, there's nothing that's positive that can come out of you trying to pretend to be a gender that you're not.
But
Go ahead. Because I know
yeah,
this will look.
I see the gloves, girl.
No,
But no, I think
No gloves.
it is a double standard. But I think the biggest misconception in entirety in this entire conversation is women think men don't have feelings during this entire process. Most times, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Most times, when men are sleeping with a lot of women, it stems from heartbreak. But mentally, we're not prepared to deal with it.
Right.
So instead of acting with this head, we act with this head.
Yeah.
So it just, if I can step back for a minute, how I even started to begin to roll like that, I can pinpoint it now because I'm at an age where I can just accept things. Okay. My father wasn't in my life, okay? So I never had that male figure to tell me, okay, Sean, you were good at something, okay? So you know who was the first person to tell me I was good at something? It was by a woman when I lost my virginity. Now,
She was older, wasn't she?
She was older, and I know, God forbid, I know it was a quick experience and it wasn't all that, but at the same time, she was like, hey, you're good at something. So what happened was, I took that, I put it down here, hey, I'm good at something. And I continue to try to be good at it, with different people, if you understand what I'm saying. So that's
was
how the whole
awesome,
situation came about.
That was awesome right there. I like that. I like that. There's a whole lot of truth to what he just said.
Yeah.
And just like women, I mean, I think a part of you trying to you know, as you said, trying to hold down emotion, which is absolutely impossible. But it's all a part of a defense you know, it's a part of your. It is. It's you trying to defend your feelings. It's you trying to control yourself. You thinking that you're in control of a relationship or your interaction with people. And at the end of the day, that's why heartbreak occurs. That's why the deep sadness occurs, because it's really not true.
But you know what? That comes from, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, the Adam syndrome. The Adam syndrome is, Lord, that's that woman you gave me. She did it. And I was in a conversation years ago with a lady, and I thought she was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. She talked about the Garden of Eden. She gave, and I'm not gonna give the other side version. I'll just give like this version of it. But one of the scenarios was the act that happened in the Garden of Eden, and whatever happened with Eve, he blamed Eve. I referenced that through that conversation that we had, just kind of trying to condense it and be a little politically correct with it. There were some things that she named in that could have possibly happened. Who knows? Because I wasn't there. That there were some things that went on that Adam wasn't tending to what he was supposed to. That's why Lucifer was able to slither his fine self in there, brothers.
He was a snake, so that was
he was a snake.
That was a little weird.
But I'm saying, but according to what's happening in this particular scenario, after everything was done, it was given to the man. And when you look at the body, if the head is not right, the rest of the body is gonna go haywire. So with women being single, you know, being the head of the household for so long, it's hard to let a wounded brother, come in and try to control you when you've been on your own for so long.
And I think that's key, though. I think the problem is, as women, a lot of times we try to make super wounded brothers. Well, first of all, I think we try to rescue brothers. I think we believe we can pick them up out the gutter, wash them up, put a suit on them, you know, and then make them Mr., you know? Yeah. And that's not the case. I also think men often have Captain Save-A-Hoe syndrome, you know? They want to save every hoe they see. But every hoe. But when you look at it, there's so many things that we've identified that are problems. So many things that serve as the root, whether it's how we grew up, what we saw, our heartbreak. And for men, that's a big one. Because once a good guy, his heart is broken, it's hard for him to come back. It's hard for him to come back because they just aren't prepared for it. And so I think that's something that as men and as women, we have to prepare our boys for. It's that first heartbreak. It's going to happen. So we've got to help equip them and prepare them for that so that they don't, you know, take a tailspin out of it. But then let's look at solutions. So then what do we do? Because see, this is the reality. We can't take grown men and raise them. I've tried. It doesn't work, okay? And it's not that we're supposed to raise them. They're supposed to be raised by their mother and their father, or their mother or whoever, and then they're supposed to be men already when we get them. But we're frustrated because we keep dating and marrying boys when what we really want is a man, but we don't want to wait for the man.
Well, hold on. Because, I mean, and she made some valuable points. She made some valuable points. But here's something that wasn't taken into consideration. You made the choice.
Absolutely.
So where are you mentally to make the choice?
Absolutely.
Right,
to accept it.
I agree.
So
I'm saying that. I'm saying.
Oh, well, I just want to.
We are doing that.
Okay. Well,
and on top of that, you're choosing boys.
That's what I said.
Wow. There are grown men out there. Now, but because of your need for control.
No, not me now.
Well, you know, I mean, when you talked about it, we talked about that defense mechanism that forces you or persuades you to try to protect yourself in a way that you think you can control your emotions and control the relationship. So you pick somebody you can control. So you are picking a boy. when there's a man ready for you.
Yeah.
And the real issue is, and I understand like doing things independency out of necessity, and you having to do things because you are alone. You have to cut the grass because you own a home, and there's certain things that you have to do. But what you have to realize is that your ultimate happiness is going to come from being a woman and allowing a man to be a man for you.
I agree, totally.
And that is where your ultimate happiness is going to come from.
I agree.
And let me say this. When you guys are talking about one-on-one guys now. I mean, obviously, something that Stevie Wonder can see. But what about the brothers that try to be charming? That they're charming. They think, one thing about me, I've never been easily charmed. Never been easily charmed. And I like it to the song of Shalimar. You know, I love the woman that's not easily charmed. You're not the kind of girl that's easily charmed. And I've never been easily charmed because words don't impress me. Your actions impress me. Your mouth could be moving, but if your actions are doing something else different, then I got a problem. You lie to yourself. And if we get to a point that we can agree to disagree, then that's fine. But when you sit there saying you're the only one, and then find out it's 6, 7, 8 different women,
right.
I got a problem with that.
And here's something. I want to give the ladies out there really some advice on this whole cheating thing, because it's not as hard as people. It's not as hard to see as people think it is. Men who are in relationships, it's a routine. It's when they're in a relationship and they love a person, it's a routine. If a man gets out of that routine, then that's something to be, it's a cause for alarm. So it's not. I just get tired of hearing women say, "Oh, I didn't know, I didn't see it coming. It was no red flags, no signs." Come on.
It's always signs.
We're not that smart.
When it all boils down to it, he hit it right.
And let me say something, Nickley Jr.
Oh my goodness.
Nickley Jr. Let me say this. As we talk about the difference of men and women dating and all that, there are scenarios where a man would date multiple women. They know about it. One thing I do believe, when God said, "Thou shalt not," when you emotionally get yourself involved with someone on a sexual level, and that's not your husband or your wife, you then invite in all kinds of spirits, getting your tires sliced. They'll probably do 3 of them because 4 of them they're gonna pay for it. Then you got seriously, and then you bust your windows out. A disease. You get an unwanted baby with someone that's not your wife, and you wonder why every time. I did a show on AIDS. And when I realized that for every one person that you sleep with, unprotected, you're sleeping with 67 people.
Wow.
And I sit there and cringe, So, when you talk about those statistics, and I learned all those things, so that's another reason why I just wasn't out there like that. It wasn't worth me trying to be like the brother. You want to go out there and be a fool, but don't lie to me. Just don't lie to me, because I got a problem if you lie to me, because we can have an open relationship if that's what you want, if I choose that. But for a brother to date these different women, and you're telling them this, you want to get married, know these women want to get married, yet I let them know. See,
it goes back to what Sean said. I mean, I tell you I want to get married, but I haven't taken you to shop for a ring. Or I tell you I want to get married, but I'm not dedicating to myself to you in a way. I'm not taking you to church. I'm not developing some spiritual connection. I'm not taking our relationship to the next level. Like, use your eyes and see what's right in front of you. You're lying to yourself. And I'm not lying to you. You're lying to yourself. Well, I mean, I may be into whatever I'm into.
Wow.
I may be into whatever I'm into, but obviously I'm not here to do what I'm saying, and obviously that's also just a way that I've identified that I can beguile you, and I can Svengali you, and I can get you to do what I want to do. And it kind of leads back to a point that I wanted to make with the Adam and Eve thing, because that's a perfect story, because that dynamic between men and women will always exist.
Yes.
R. Kelly and Jay-Z had a song about the power of a woman's vagina, and it's the reason why men have a job. It's the reason why men buy a car. It's the reason why men get their hair cut.
Get their suit out clean.
Because the truth of the matter is, if it wasn't for a woman, I mean, I probably wouldn't have a whole lot of self-ambition. I wouldn't have a lot of motivation to do anything beyond myself. It's a woman that drives me, and it's a woman that inspires me. And so it's important for women, while we both have clearly some responsibility in this dynamic that is relationship. See, what I've lost, what I can't understand is why women have lost the concept that they are in charge of love,
Some women.
of light.
Some
No,
women.
every woman.
Some women,
Because
I
at the
see.
end of the day, I want what you have. And so what is it going to take for me to get it? And so if you make it easy and the criteria is easy, then the criteria is easy. But if you make it hard, then I'll work for it.
We're gonna. I'll take it. We're gonna take some questions from our studio audience, but I just want to say that it's not nothing is absolute, and everything is not. I can't say all men are dogs or all men are this, all women, all blacks, all whites. So all women are not like that, because when I believe that I'm made in the image of God, and if you truly know who God is, I have the same jealousy that God has. I have the same respect for myself that God wants you to have, and I'm going to make you respect me, because if I allow you to treat me that way, then that is on me. But all women are not like that, and that's probably why I'm by myself. And is there a wall? Perhaps.
But you know what? But Wanda, what he was really saying was that we all, as women, we all have the power to control the direction of relationships.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, I put folks in boot camp. And, my girlfriends, I tell them, I said, look, I need you to pay attention to this. I want you to watch this. And they were like, well, he said, I said, and I began to show them that when you understand your value and your worth, then you understand that you have much more control than you really think you have. And that's true. All women have that. We have the power to tap into that once we know our worth, once we know our value, once we know who we are. But when we don't know who we are, that's when
you can be the player and allow these, and it just be an acceptance. But
it's true.
Yeah, to accept that. What are you about to say?
Well, I'm going to say something, and whenever female approach me with advice on this type of situation, I tell them, one, as Ross previously stated, we're not that smart. As much as well, I'm just saying, as much as we would like to believe we are, we're really not that smart. And I also tell women too, if you really want your man to do something, communicate it in a way that it doesn't disrespect him, it doesn't down him, or it doesn't put him in a position that belittles him. If you come to him and say, if he comes to you with an idea, but you don't like it, say something like, babe, that's a good idea, but what do you think about this? What you did right there is you planted a seed, and you just walk off. What we're gonna do as men is, we're gonna walk off, we're gonna think about it. We might even take your idea, like, oh, what if I add this? Eventually, we're going to come back and use the idea that you gave us. But see, most women don't know how to present their idea.
We're angry.
Exactly. Most women don't know how to.
So it's not what you say, it's
how you say it. It all goes back to that.
And I also think, you got to have a standard, and then B, expectation. And now see, it's the B that I think a lot of people get confused on. Because it's like, even as I listen to you, and if I'm dating you, I'm taking you out on the first date. See, you've already opened a window of opportunity for me to cheat on you, and you didn't even know.
How is that?
Because you told me that all men cheat. Because you told me that is what men do. Because you opened up an idea in my head, and I've seen it so many times with men who aren't cheaters. They didn't even know that they possessed the ability to date multiple women and do what they wanted to do. He's not dead. It just wasn't in his character. Because every man isn't built that way.
And I don't think, if I said all men, we would rather take that. But if I said all men, I do not mean all men, because I can't say all men are dogs.
No.
I'm just at a point now with the men that I've dated, and even the ones that I was trying to get into a relationship with, found out, people get tired of eating chicken. I know you got it fried, you got it sauteed, you can barbecue it, whatever. But people get tired of chicken, and that's the concept that I look at when I look at men. Because the best of men, now they don't bring it home. I do believe that, but I don't know about all men. I haven't met them, but my wall is up. Because I have dated enough, not a whole lot, but I've dated enough to know that I don't want to go out there. I don't want to take that chance on getting a disease. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me.
Let me ask you a question.
Ask me.
Why do you think men cheat?
Because they can.
Why do you think men cheat?
I think because they can. Why do they cheat? Tell me. You're a man, you gotta tell me.
Men cheat because one, if you're not doing something in a relationship and you're not up to talk about it, what's the next logical thing to do?
That's one reason, yeah. They're gonna take the easy route out. Instead of saying, baby, what's the problem? Can we talk? Let's straighten it out.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the whole point of this show, because that's a war that we didn't put within us, that I can't communicate with her. Now let me take you back to my original point. Why I can't communicate with you? Because you're always combative when I bring you something. All right. But do you understand what I'm saying? Men, I always say, women are forced to cheat. I really believe this. Women are forced to cheat.
Not these days, I don't think. I think.
No,
you're
women
right
are
about
literally
that.
forced to cheat. You really have to push them
Most
and
women
kick them.
you do.
And most women, you can kick them off the edge in order to cheat.
Well, according to what Dr. V was saying, there are some women that want to up for the challenge. Okay, I'm gonna show, and believe me, when you said that, I know of another young lady that's similar to that situation. And hey, they walk into a room, I demand attention. It's all about me, you know. And they think that no one else looks better than them. They think that nobody else. So there are other women that are out there, just like what she's saying.
A lot of
that
those
think
women,
when they walk in the room, every man wants them.
But answer this question: those women that do that, what are they checking as far as relational status when tax season comes around?
There you go. I was just going to say the same
Well,
thing.
the conversation
Those
is
aren't the
over.
women. Those
So
aren't
clearly
the women that are readily loved.
Exactly.
And they don't know it though. And it's unfortunate they don't even realize that, because you're worth something. I think you guys said that, and to hear it coming from men that have been transformed or you've renewed your mind or your way of thinking.
Yeah, just matured.
But unfortunately, the contamination has happened for so long. Some women are just messed up because they figure that there are no men. Now I'm blocked. I'm blocked.
Well, let's go back to what you said though, because I just want to reverse your paradigm, and I want you to see the power of positivity and paradigm. Because you said people get tired of chicken, right? But what if you don't get tired of chicken? In fact, you can't get tired of chicken. You know why?
You're a preacher.
Because I can fry it, I can bake it, I can broil it. You understand? I can offer it into you in so many different ways. I can give you variety. I can give you options.
You're so much chicken.
But you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do.
And so just the way you think about it, the way you approach it, even within yourself, is going to shape how you interact and engage with someone else. And so if your paradigm is positive, your paradigm is certain. You understand, just something simple as, you ain't gonna never get tired of my chicken, because I can cook chicken for days. I can cook chicken so many ways, you're gonna love chicken. You ain't never gonna get tired of chicken. There you go. There you go.
And I think this is the thing, is I want to make sure that you all understand what I was saying. For me, I watched my mother, my grandmother, my aunts get cheated on, mistreated, and all of those things. I made a conscious decision that I would put a wall up, that I wouldn't let anyone get that close to me, so that no one would ever be able to have that amount of power over me. But this is the reality. If you're ever going to experience true love, you have to let the wall down. You have to take the risk. If you don't take the risk, you can't get there. But on my journey, let me tell you what I learned. See, I went from being the girl who was determined to, have any man that I wanted because I wanted him and I could, to being the woman who understood the power of being a lady. And so when I get to doors, I'll pause. I expect the car door to be opened for me. I expect, if there's a man around, for me not to have to lift something or carry something. I expect that. And so when you expect it, it shows up, It happens.
So chivalry is not dead for you.
No.
Not when you expect it. Not when you expect it. Not when you expect it.
And not in the, you better open my door. But what I've learned is the power of communication is that I can take the hardest thug. I used to teach at Tennessee State University. We had a lot of guys from Memphis, and they'd be like, I'm Memphis, I'm hard, So they'd be all hard, and all the girls were like, oh, he's there. Those very same guys would carry my books, whatever I needed, they would do it for me, because I made them feel like a man and like they were needed, like they felt needed. And men need to feel needed.
That's right.
Even if I know how to do a lot of stuff, don't tell nobody. I can change tires, I've put brakes on, I've done all of those things. But I don't want to do them, because if there's a man around, I want to give him the opportunity to be that man and to know I need you.
But that was key, Dr. V. And I think what we can do to help maybe some people, some young ladies out there, the older ladies, because the one scenario I used, these were seasoned sisters that accept, mediocre. And when you accept that, like you say, you put the standards there. People only do to you what you allow them to do to them.
That's right.
And I understand that. One of my things is, most of my friends are men. I've recently, I have female friends that I could talk to, and I love older men. I like older people because I love wisdom. I like learning certain things. And when I found out that women, that the men would kind of check me, one guy said, "Ain't nobody gonna be able to deal with your behind but Shaft." And I was like, and he was right. Because of where I was. And I don't want to be hard. I don't want to be the head of the household.
No, he wasn't right.
But I'm not going to accept anything to have a piece of man. So meanwhile, I have to be the head of the household just like so many other women. And so when the good man comes along, I had some brothers say, "I'm here, I'll open the door for you." I can open the door for myself, but I understand that. So I have to kind of tone it down a little bit. And then when I would get into my arguments with my friends, real deep one, I said, if we were dating, you wouldn't get none tonight. You wouldn't get.
But you know what?
Which would have been
That's
wrong.
why we mess up.
Which
Let me tell you why we mess up.
Well, it would have been wrong.
That's exactly when you need to get some.
No.
Because we done argued. You know what? I'm going to make you regret ever having that argument with me. Not because I withhold, because you going to get it so good that you going to be like, "Baby, what you want, baby?
But
you want the black card, the platinum card. What do you want?" And I'm going to tell you why, Wanda. Listen, I'm convinced that the mistake that we make as women is that we shut down the areas that give us the most power in our relationships with men. We shut down the communication, we shut down the sex, we shut down the kitchen. Those three areas give us so much power. They give us so much power. And when we... And the reason I say that is, like you, I've always had lots of guy friends. My friends have always been guys. But what I started doing was watching them. I started taking notes. And then I started shifting and adjusting some stuff. I figured out what it was that they liked, because I was trying to figure out why I was their friend and she was their woman. I said, hold up. I don't want to be their friend or the other woman. I want to be the woman. So what does it require? And it required me shifting my paradigm. It required me shifting how I did things. And you're talking about checking. I got 2 master checkers in my life, and I do not like to be checked. I do not like it. But I love the fact that they will check me. And this is when you know that you've been checked.
Exactly.
And you see how naturally that happened?
Right.
And do you see how naturally that happened? And can I say one thing about Shaft? Shaft's a fictional character. You do know that, right?
That was the definition that someone gave to me
I want you to understand.
I was so harsh.
Right, because you, instead of preparing a person to be in your life, instead of setting the expectation for their performance, for their behavior in a relationship with you, you're guarding yourself and protecting yourself from what you think might happen.
Let me
control that.
Something. I know we're dialoguing.
Yeah.
I did, because when they said that, when I said that to my friends, if you were my man, you'd be cut off. So I was glad that this brother wasn't my man so that I could learn. And I did learn. And I tell my brothers all the time, I appreciate you. And when I see certain other brothers, when they're doing certain things, I say, you make it hard. You make it hard, and the women that are allowing you to be that player or to be that accepting of your behavior, it just make me that much stronger that when I see it coming, I don't care how clean the house is. It could be clean. If I smell a dead rat, something ain't right. And so and even if I can't prove anything that there's something going on, if I can't prove anything's going wrong, I would bow out before the relationship.
Right. You can't be successful that way. And you can't be, and now since we talking on this panel, it's clear. Since it's clear that we know each other, I was thinking about the other day. You got dressed the other day. I told you that you look beautiful, and you said, "Well, what do you want?" That was your response.
Wow.
Now see, you spend so much time building up this wall, and I'm going to tell you why women are failing. Because as a man, when I come to you When I've decided on you, I've taken my time, I've watched you, I've judged you, I've analyzed and critiqued you from your head to your toe, and I've decided that you're a woman for me, I'm ready. So I come to you 100% in. All my chips are in. Now, me having to be patient to wait for you to break down your wall, for me to try to convince you of my genuineness, for me to try to, we're gonna lose every time. Our timing is going to be off every time. Well, you have to be prepared. You can't control another. You can't control anyone's behavior.
I give a dog a bone. Don't get me wrong. I would give a dog a bone. I would, and that's a
That's it. No, I know, but it's also reflective of your mentality.
Well, hey,
it's also reflective of your mentality.
That's who I am.
You gotta be open.
And that's
and
cool.
willing.
And that's cool. But in the same token, I cannot pretend that I'm a wide open person. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, and people know me, I'm straight up. So if I tell you, I'm the same way right here. I'm telling you what's going on. And then when I open up and tell you certain things that's going on, then you end up using it against me, because I think you made some type of example of that earlier, that I said some things that you kind of picked up, and I would be, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. That's all I'm saying. Don't be fooled. Because I love intellect. I love dialogue. Make love to my mind. Mm-hmm. I love to dialogue. I love to see where you are. And usually you can kind of tell when somebody's full of it. And I'm into the colon cleansers. I give you a couple of bags of tea. So I know when a brother is full of it. Mm-hmm. So I like to laugh. I like to have fun. I want to be possessed, but I don't want to be possessed. The last relationship I was in, gave it a chance. Year and a half. I knew after 4 months, but I still allowed myself.
But see, stop right there.
You just said.
If you knew after 4 months, you should have cut it off.
Because I could have been wrong. But I had to check myself. In between.
But this is the thing. This is the thing. And I'm really convinced of this. I really am. And let's take it out of you.
I didn't marry him, though. That's what I mean. We talked about getting married.
Wanda?
No.
What you trying to say, Wanda?
No, I'm saying, I said this earlier to you, that I'm not judging you, but I could have been. He could clean, he could cook. I'm talking about everything, but he was a charmer, and I'm not easily charmed. So what I'm saying is, we talked about marriage, but we would have been divorced, is what I'm saying. So.
Okay, so
let's take it.
So let's take it out of the personal. Because see, I think that when we keep it in the personal, then it's hard for us to move forward, right? So when we take it from the personal to someone out there, you know, a woman out there, okay, who finds herself with the walls up. Because there's a lot of women out there who have their walls up. And I know, because, I mean, I've had my walls up, and now I'm single again. So, you know, I have to watch myself. Like, I constantly have to watch myself and check myself to make sure that I'm not operating with the wall. Because I can put the wall up, and, you know, you want to play games, I can show you game. You ain't seen game.
Oh, yeah.
Check and mate, right?
No doubt.
But this is what I discovered. I don't want to play any games.
Yeah.
And if I have to play games with you, you're not the person for me. See, because the person for me is someone that I can be open and honest with, and you don't use it against me. See, the moment you use it against me, you let me know that you have automatically disqualified yourself, and I must give you the benediction. May the Lord watch between
me and thee.
While we're absent, one from another, deuces to the side, never to return. Because we don't have time for that.
But by this time, we gave up the cookies. No, I'm
getting my crumbs back.
She said, I'm not saying me. We're not talking about.
No, I'm talking about my neighbor. No,
we already know Wanda's cookies safe and protected.
Hey, and when absolutely, and I know I'm good. Like you said, I know I'm good. I don't have to prove you. I can cook, I can clean, I'm everything that whoever. Because God said, when a man finds a woman, a wife, he finds a good thing. So I'm not looking. I get stuff all the time coming at me. And I have to be careful that I'm not, when the right one comes along, that he's not throwing that back. So that's where I am. Because I may not know what I want, but I sure know what I don't want.
Well, but you know, I think it's important for us to know what we want. And I just believe that when we know what we want, when we can identify those characteristics that we're looking for, then we recognize it. If we're looking at what we don't want, we're focused on the negative and not the positive. And I think that's what Ross was saying. You got to focus on the positive. You got to focus on the positive.
We have a question that we're going to come from our studio audience. They're about to, they're tearing it up like that. All right, we're ready for a question for our studio audience.
Okay, we have a few questions that are being laid out for the audience. The first question we have is, when a man changes his routine, is it fair to assume he is cheating?
Yep. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I will say this. I will say this. It's never fair to assume anything.
Right.
But I will tell you this. If you really want to know about a man, the best thing to do is to pay attention to them unconscious movements. And that's where a lot of women make mistakes. They're paying attention to the wrong things. Because you, trust and believe, you can tell when a man's interest is elsewhere or is shifted.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He don't even look at you the same.
Absolutely.
He don't talk to you the same.
right.
You can tell
That's right.
the difference.
Yeah.
The thing you need to do is just accept it. Accept what it is, and either fix it or shift it.
Well, and have a conversation. I
Yeah.
think that's important. See, instead of assuming that he's cheating,
Yeah.
it's time to have a conversation. Baby, I noticed that, some things have changed. Can we just do an example?
Go ahead.
Okay, Sean, I'm
'Cause
going
I'ma
to use
give
you. Is
one.
that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So I've noticed that Sean's patterns have changed. Like his routine has shifted. And, I'm wondering, is he cheating? Now, I'm not going to go to him, are you cheating? I know you're cheating. Because that's what we tend to do, right? Or we break into their Facebook, their email, their phone, and all of that stuff. Okay, so instead I might say, baby, I noticed that you've been a little distracted lately. Is it something wrong? Is it something that's off with us? Is it something that is going on with me? And I just want to understand because I want to make sure we're good.
You didn't season the pork chops the same way. So I got a little mad.
Oh, baby, I'm sorry. You should have said something. I would have fixed it then.
Yeah.
Right.
But it never goes that easy.
I was going to say, if
But
It never
I'ma
goes
tell you
that easy.
something.
But that's a powerful tool, though.
But
I
I'ma
think
tell you
that's a
something.
powerful tool against a man.
what you see the problem?
Well, at the end of the day, it's like they always talk about how emotional, women are, and women are emotional creatures, emotional, which is very true. But Sean touched on it earlier. Men are far more sensitive. Like, men are sensitive beings. That's why we write the best love songs. Like, men are sensitive. So when you, as opposed to attacking me, you take it and you make it an issue of the heart. Like, I'm rethinking my steps. I might even be rethinking this adultery that or this cheating that I'm about to do, because you've kind of shown me that you love me. And men, I'm telling you, are incredibly sensitive people.
Yeah, they are.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
But it's definitely a cause for concern, is the answer. Like, it's definitely a cause for concern. You see a breaking routine, it's worth an investigation.
Yeah. An investigation, not an
Interrogation.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't turn the light on and
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
where you been. Like,
Right. Will not be successful.
All right, next question.
Next question is, sometimes married women or men present themselves as being single. They don't wear rings, etc. What advice would you give someone who wants to date and how to avoid this dynamic?
I think you just basically, you have to be able to feel people out. Often, and that question actually kind of goes into this other question, because if they change their routine, and or if they're not around for holidays, they're not around for special occasions, things of that nature, you can't call them at home, you gotta call them on the cell phone. Come on. What's up with that?
here's my thing with this whole situation, whoever asked that question. We can never, ever, ever, ever know where we're going if we don't know where we started, okay? I say that because it's some key things that we need to learn while being single that we sometimes supersede past because we want to be in relationships. Now, here's the thing. When we're single, this is the time where you need to get to know yourself. You need to go out with yourself. You need to talk to yourself. Just don't answer yourself. But you need to do some things that, symbolizes who you are as an individual. You basically need to gain some individuality about yourself. Once you gain that individuality about yourself, you start to realize that a relationship is an added bonus.
Right.
It's not a completion of you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. We got about 2 minutes left, maybe less than 2 minutes. Let's just kind of give an overview of what we've talked about. Starting with you, Ross.
Well, I mean, I think what we've, essentially what we've kind of touched on is that, it's important for us to communicate. It's important for women to have expectations of men, to expect them to do things based on the standard that they've developed. Once you, like you said, you've investigated, but most importantly, you know what you like. You got to know what you like. You got to know what you want. No one's going to hire you for a job and not have a laid out set of criteria for what they're looking for.
Right.
So
you got to mean it.
I think it's crucial, as Ross said, that we communicate with one another, but I think it's also crucial that we operate in the positive and not the negative. The negative is what keeps us negative. The more you think negative, the more negativity you get. The more you think positive, the more positive you'll get. So set the expectations, communicate, and make it work.
Yeah. I think know who you are. Once you know who you are, then you really can command a room.
And all right.
That's what the true definition of commanding the room is.
And I love that. And we're gonna wrap this up with relationship wars, love is a battlefield, and we're gonna be back with part 2, and we're gonna talk about compatibility. Why are the wrong people hooking up?